If you take a moment to think about this and use just even a small portion of your brain as a progressive, and, even Bernie Sanders is getting criticized for, maybe his tact on this H-1B visa thing, but I personally don't think it's warranted. But you'll notice that he's not really saying I'm siding with one or the other, because the racists are not complaining, and the xenophobes and the ultra-nationalists, they're not complaining about H-1B visas because you're disempowering these workers, that you are exploiting these workers. That's not why they're complaining. They're complaining because you're letting non-traditional Americans in the country. And the ones who are in support of H-1B visas, they're not saying this because we are a better country when we have, a diversity of thought, open borders or whatnot. They're saying this, whatever their story is, they're saying this because we want low-wage workers.
Yes.
And we want workers who are going to, even if we've got to pay them something, it's certainly going to be less or no more than we would pay a citizen of this country. But the point is, because they're not a citizen, we can say, like, are you really going to not work this weekend?
Are you really going to complain about, say, unfair labor practices or workplace abuse? Because
I wouldn't do that. Not if I wanted to stay in this country.
Because this is not an immigration program. This is a guest worker program.
Exactly.
So I just want to remind people that, because the way we will deal with wedge issues during these years is not to pick a side or another side. It is to go at the issue from a progressive or leftist perspective. Anything else is literally your perspective on politics is, less sophisticated than, I don't know, watching, the NBA playoffs and rooting for a team that's not from your city.
Yeah.
But speaking of which, here is PBD. Patrick Bet-David, who is...
He's going to value-tain us so much. Right?
You're going to get so value-tained by this guy. He, of course, came out in favor of the H-1B visa position of Vivek Ramaswamy and
Elon
Musk, because, of course, this is a guy who also made millions of dollars exploiting people. And he's pro-exploitation of people.
Part of this, to me, is like when you think about when Dallas Mavericks bring Dirk Nowitzki or Luka or Giannis or all these players that are coming from the European system here, and Kobe would always bash the AAU system in the States. And he came from the Italian, he played... he learned how to play basketball, the fundamentals in Europe. Why do they translate from that league? It's results. So my only concern with this argument is...
Wait, I'm sorry. Okay, so Kobe was criticizing U.S. development programs. That's been an established fact for quite a while in the NBA. Like, Matt, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's like the Euro step was revolutionary in that way, the fundamentals from the way that European players played. But they came over here because they can make the most money. And they also are free to leave if they need to.
Yeah, Kobe wasn't told, like, hey, if you don't like the Lakers here and you get sick of Shaq and want to trade, you're actually going to have to go back to Italy because we don't want you anymore.
But we're seeing, like, for the WNBA, for example, some of the players who were drafted even high in the WNBA went over to play in Europe because the pay is better there, because the WNBA is so exploitative.
Well, but also, this isn't using the NBA or the WNBA is not apples to apples, because we're not talking about incredibly unique talents. We're talking about stuff that is eminently learnable and is teachable and part of like a basic education. Yeah. You don't need to have some literally 1 in a million skill set to have these jobs and to qualify for these visas. Go ahead.
Leak, it's results. So my only concern with this argument is Yes, keep the jobs in America. Yes, give the jobs to American graduates. Yes, make it competitive here. And if some of these guys are coming here that are the smartest people, why not keep them? Why not recognize them? Why not respect the fact that they create?
Pause it. That is also not the argument.
Yeah.
I say yes. Let's keep them here.
Right.
And let's give them all of the labor rights that we would give an American citizen so that they cannot be, despite the fact that they are so unique and so talented and so intelligent, they cannot be exploited by their bosses with this looming threat of being kicked out of the country.
And if this was a issue of talent and they're coming to the United States because they are going to get better compensated, and this is the situation where all these coders or all these people working for tech companies need to come here, so like you're not getting paid like you would be in a European league, you're getting paid NBA salary, then they should be paying them the equivalent of what an NBA salary would be in a tech job. But we just showed what Warren Gunnels put up earlier, which is that they're making like $57,000, $60,000 a year, with on top of it the threat of their boss deporting them if they do something that pisses them off.
It's just a matter of like, even the salary, you can't do apples to apples, because if you're if you have the labor protections of American citizenship, you can say to your boss, dude, I'm not working this weekend. No, my hours are not 8 to 8 every night. I'm going to take a paternity leave. I'm going to take a maternity leave.
You see this in the financial papers all the time. They're talking about how Elon Musk is able to get like such productivity out of his workforce. And I would suggest that this is a massive part of it. It is this sort of, and American corporations in generally, they have an advantage because they can coerce people into these sorts of situations where they have to work more for them.
And in the NBA, they're all in a union.
Yep. Oh, sorry.
Make it competitive here. And if some of these guys are coming here that are the smartest people, why not keep them? Why not recognize them? Why not respect the fact that they create jobs? One of the tweets, I said, our founding fathers, a guy responds back and says, those are not your founding fathers. Guy posts a picture of the Shah of Iran, says, that's your founding father.
Oh, so funny.
But that tells you what, a part of this, there's a nationalist and there's white nationalists. White nationalists, Vinny, don't want people like us here.
I know.
They just don't. White nationalists are a very different model, and they can have that argument, but this got very ugly very quick.
Yeah, no, you're spot on with the white nationalist thing. So,
Oh, yeah. So everybody that you've been hanging out with and
Pandering to for the last 4 years.
The entire political movement that you've assigned yourself to, turns out they're a little racist.
This is like when Sam Harris realized like all his followers on Twitter were Trump fans, and he's like, wait, what happened?
Right.
You mean my Islamophobia didn't nurture the same, all the people who were, meditating in my Twitter follows?
They're still calling me a Jew in my replies. What is this?
What
I thought they just hated the Muslims. We were on board with that.
That was fine.
And I have we have more of this, Bradley, or
No, we can.
Didn't they just move on?
they kind of move on here, but I
Yeah.
got an older clip of Vivek Ramaswamy here. But the thing is like, so that no surprise that they've been pandering to racists for this long. But it is. PBD later says it's not. It's maybe about 5% of the guys that are the white nationalists. Whatever. I don't. Maybe that's a low ball. I'm not sure. But I also think there's a huge part, and Trump wouldn't have won without the people that actually look at it from a labor perspective. The actual issue here, issue that Vivek was speaking to in October 2024. Here is this. If I got the right clip here, Bradley.
A lot of the people who have come here through the H-1B system would tell you, as I would, that it is just a broken system no matter who you're seeking to serve. For example, you want to talk about special interests and lobbying? This is direct Silicon Valley lobbying that said that if you get your H-1B visa and you're hired by one company, you're effectively like a slave. You can't switch to a different company. That's not a free labor market. So there's so much that's broken and bureaucratized. Here's the next question about the H-1B visa system is why the heck do we do it on the basis of a lottery when you could actually just select the very best people? So there's a lot that's broken about the administrative state, the bureaucracy. My general approach is when something's broken in government, you can't really fix it when it's lasted that long. You need to shut it down, start with a blank slate, and rebuild from scratch. And that's just a stylistic point that I've applied to this issue as to any other.
But what is it? Wait a second. Okay, so I would agree. Yeah, we should actually allow somebody who comes in on a visa like that to not be tethered to an exploitive boss. Apparently, Vivek has given up that perspective.
Yeah.
But what does it mean to tear it down and then rebuild it? Like what exactly are you talking about? So no borders. Let's start with no borders. No borders.
No ice.
Everybody comes in, no ice, and then we build it from there. I'm on board for that.
Yeah.
Like this is the libertarian brain. They will pick an arbitrary spot. Like it's just break things down.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds like entrepreneurship.
Right.
Okay, break it down. No borders, no customs officials, none of that, and we'll build it from the ground up. And they'll be like, what? That's crazy. No, they'll arbitrarily pick the point, what it means to break it down. Like we're just going to take the structure and we're just going to lop off the top two stories because I actually want a new penthouse, and we'll just keep the other stories. I mean,
But
that's basically what it's about.
Didn't that libertarian presidential candidate have a much better immigration policy than others? There's so few libertarian. And at the end of the day, it's
That's why all of the base went to Republicans.
Right. They don't care. That's the nativist thing. But the point is like you're right. You know, if that were the case, then you would basically, if you just, as Matt has said previously or deployed, if you're for the free flow of capital across borders, but you are very militaristic about human beings crossing borders, that's not like free market fundamentalism or libertarianism. That's just fascism.
Jacobin had a good piece 2 years ago. Biden can fix the anti-worker H-1B immigration visa scam. It's funny that the thing that Vivek said needs to happen, actually mentioned by these people who want it reform, including Bernie Sanders, who has been proposing these reforms for a while. Close the loophole that incentivizes outsourcing, raise wage rates for H-1B workers so they match U.S. standards, ensure U.S. workers have a legitimate opportunity to apply for jobs open to H-1B workers, investigate rampant wage theft, which is a big problem with H-1B workers because they don't have any rights.
The Department of Labor can do a lot better job on this stuff than they're doing.
Yep, and then final point, and allocate H-1B visas by prioritizing the most highly skilled workers rather than through a random lottery. So everything you said.
And highly skilled means basically they want to hire whoever they can to exploit. Really,
I mean,
That's
it's possible. I mean, it's possible that there's like, say, a surgeon
Sure.
who knows how to do a specific thing, or very highly specialized information on even technology. But if that's the case, then their wages shouldn't be suppressed and give them citizenship.
Yep.
Yeah. And
I want to
you had
play
referenced
clip.
this yesterday.
I want to play this clip
Yeah.
just to remind you. Like, you can be against both people in here because of the motivations of both of them. Here is a classic clip of Ann Coulter interviewing Vivek Ramaswamy as he ran for president. This is just like a little exercise. How do I look at this? Know that I agree with neither people here.
To correct you a little, this is on his show that he started after he dropped out. So this is in August, but this is the exact ideological lines that is manifesting right now with this H-1B debate. And this is how she opened the interview with him, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And that's why I brought on today somebody who I think has some thoughtful perspectives on the future direction of our country, of our conservative movement, and on this question of nationalism and national identity, somebody I've been fascinated by for a long time and have interacted with on social media, but for the first time we're having at least a live form conversation in the offline sense of it. It's Ann Coulter. So Ann, thanks for coming on, and I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Me too. Thanks for having me. That was a fantastic opening monologue. I too am a fan of yours. I'm going to make a point of disagreeing with you so that it will be fun. You are so bright and articulate, and I guess I can call you articulate since you're not an American black. Can't say that about them. That's derogatory. And that was a great opening segment. Lots of things to talk about there. Oh, and I agreed with many, many things you said during. In fact, probably more than most other candidates when you were running for president. But I still would not have voted for you because you're an Indian. We'll get back to that.
Wow.
By the way,
They didn't get back to it.
He didn't get back to it. He just took it and went on with the interview, which is kind of a metaphor for this entire H-1B thing, right? The white nationalists, they're running the show, and this fight will just go out in the wash, and it'll be back to the racism once again, and they'll forget.
It will be, and the reason why I played that was not just because it's fun to ritualistically watch Vivek, sort of like actually have to sacrifice his dignity to maintain his position in this party. That's not what it's about. The reason why I do that is like, we can watch that and say, Ann Coulter is a horrible human being. But also, Vivek is a horrible human being.
Yeah.
And Ann Coulter is wrong as to why he shouldn't be president. And Vivek is wrong based upon his ideas that he's promoting. Like, we don't need to say, I agree with her. I wouldn't vote for Vivek as president, because her reason for not voting for Vivek as president is completely antithetical to our perspective. We can say Vivek is wrong despite the fact that he is a subject of racism from Ann Coulter. This is what you do when you're an adult and you look at these politics. This is why it is so dangerous to say, well, I actually agree with Ann Coulter. I wouldn't vote for Vivek, because people will take that and they will leverage that.
Right.
And so you need to say, I disagree with both of them, even though I may have voted the same way as Ann Coulter against Vivek.
But the people that are making that argument, it's self-serving, because at the end of the day, it's not about being in opposition, which is harder in this moment, as like basically all of these billionaires and tech companies and other companies roll over in their back and show their belly to Donald Trump. Resistance is going to be harder this time. But as you say, in terms of like a fight between two conservatives, we're rooting for the fight, and that's what we have to engender.
Hey, folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.